Well, it is what, I don't know what that almost 11 o'clock, I guess, on Sunday Eastern time. Let's just get this video out. We're gonna kind of try to go through stuff quick. It might be another 20-minute video, hopefully not. But yeah, so more or less, since the last time I made a video and last time I streamed, I don't remember when, maybe Wednesday or Thursday, who knows. Didn't really There hasn't been much of a change. So we're really just going to go over a quick overview of that. Then we're going to look at some of these other things because there are some individual stocks that do look like they're in a nice position to have another extra little pump or another pump up, more or less, based off of the week time frames. A couple of the day, but more so, excuse me, more than from the week time frame. So just to kind of sum up where we're going with the VIX, we could see from here, from like 2017 or whatever, bling, bling, bling. We want to see it hit. We haven't pushed down enough. I guess the biggest thing on the VIX, if it happens, I doubt it, will be if we actually start under seven. If we start the VIX this week under 17.8, I would feel very bullish about the market, ridiculously bullish, even more so than kind of where we are. If we do start under there, I highly doubt that we will. Most likely, we'll start somewhere in this area. We'll push down pretty hard, and I do think with something like this, we'll probably want to push back up, and I do think we'll break up to something really, 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 really high. Every time we come down this low, more or less, we can just see. We'll do this because this is a little bit easier to see. Let's do this so we can just look. Nice bounce up, and then look at that. That's quite a bit in this same kind of relative range. Boom. And then I think this is where is this? No, this is 2020, so we do have more data here also. And I'm too lazy to do the whole thing. I don't care what it is exactly. So it could stay here for a while, but when things do go south, things do look sketchy around this area. I am quite a bit concerned whether we'll have something like that happen again. So it just kind of is what it is. So that's for the VIX. The biggest thing for it is if we start the week under 17.8. I don't think that's going to happen, like I said. So I don't like that's the only thing I think that's super there to look for. At the end of the day, I still think, or I still believe that, I guess believe that I still want to see the same exact thing. I don't know why we are still here on the dollar index. It is actually insane that the price is still here. Like, why would we get bought here just because of this? Why would anyone here in their right mind, especially after all of this, try to fight for a lower high here when coming down just a little bit more meets so much criteria? So we'll see what happens with the dollar index. I'm still more or less bullish on the market. So just to kind of put it simply, these are our ranges right here. Um, we'll do it this way. So I'm bearish on the stock market once we come into this area. Or to me, this is like the ultimate just take profit and see what happens. I wouldn't be surprised if by the time the dollar index gets to around this 99, I guess it's what, 99.46 to 100. But I think it'll probably come more likely into this 99.4 or 99.5 for a bounce. Um, but I would expect some things like Bitcoin, I would expect to be around 26K. It's possible some other stocks are a little bit more pumpy. And essentially, where the stocks are, because the dollar's sat up here for so much, I do feel like we're going to have a really bullish year more than a bearish year. We'll have to really see what happens. Um, but the one thing I kind of want to say into this is that if you check, I don't remember which video, but I was saying in some of the other videos previously so far this year that especially for like Bitcoin is one of the big ones. My biggest concern for Bitcoin was us not being in this range by the time the dollar index hit that target. So like if it was down here by the time the dollar index hit that target, I would have been incredibly bearish on um, or I would expect to be incredibly bearish on Bitcoin. But the way it's going right now, by the time Bitcoin's up here at 26K, this is just a normal take profit spot. And if it can get above, maybe it can enter up into this range right up here and push up farther up to around like 36K. But even if it does come back down, I'd have to see it back under here. And also the dollar index would have to look pretty good at the same time. Otherwise, to me, it's just taking profits and just playing this range, and it could easily just go back up and push up. That's what I currently expect at this point in time, especially with some of these other ones. Apple, we're up here now. Let's do this. Actually, let me do this, and then we'll be done with the dollar index really quickly. So essentially, our bounce places are here, here, and here in this range. We'll just denote it with this, I suppose. So we'll denote it with that. And then, so with the dollar index, one thing I want to say, so this is pretty much how it goes. I'm still bullish on the market, still in my position. I'm bearish once we get into this range down here between this 995 to this 100.2. I'm bullish once again in this range, and then, or I'm bullish neutral in a sense. It's kind of like adding on and creating a position, and then I'm cautious here. And then and the reason for that is, like I said before, um, I could just really see it. So I mean, it's not taking the oldest data or whatever, but relatively like old data, or maybe it is the oldest data. Okay, so it is the oldest data. I didn't know that. I wasn't paying attention specifically to that. But anyway, with this fib that I like, it lines up with other stuff I already like, so it's not really too important. But the point about this is, and this is actually really nice the way it reacts around here, here, and here, and here. But the reason I like this is it just lines up with what I already see, and it also lined up here with the 2618, which I thought was really cool. But it's really just a nice, easier representation of this 1618 down here at 92.28, 92.3, just in that general range. But as we can see here, we run the risk of what I don't think is going to happen. We run the risk of coming down, with the risk of coming all the way down here. I really don't see that happening whatsoever at all. Like 100%. I think that has almost a 0% chance of happening. Because when we look at this, we have month time averages right here. So we have this month time average, month time average. I don't care about this. I doubt it's going to fall through this, especially with just how strong this area looks anyway. And especially when we see some of these really nice bounces in this area. Tries here. It's a little ugly. It's not really as nice as any of these other places, sadly. Looks fairly nice. Resistance with a push up. So it's not always like for sure, but you can definitely tell it is an average, and it is a really good average. So just from that position, it looks strong even without looking at this, and it looks even stronger when I take it into consideration. So that's the month time frame, and then we have the week time frame. So we had the longest time frame average right here, and this is at 94, and then we also have this at 95.8. So at worst, most likely it's this range, maybe with a hard sell down into this range, and then it just moves back up. And if it did do something like that, whatever it was, the time this so there it's going to be something similar to what I've said before previously up here. So the time to be bearish, hard bearish, or not be in positions, in my opinion, like the momentum fully shifts, is if the price comes down here, we break through, we bounce, and then we come back up above these week time frame averages. Whoops, we'll do this in this area. So with a movement down here, all the way down to the 1618, and then breaking back above both of these fibs, this was the area that momentum shifting, and we're probably going to blow through a lot of this and at least come back up to 107. That's what I believe. I mean, I could also easily see somewhere at 105, but it's just going to have so much momentum. It's going to be a little bit sketchy. Now, I don't necessarily think this is going to happen, but that's something that I could see happening. We're pretty far off from that. I mean, maybe we go up here in the dollar index. It blows my mind that it's still here. It doesn't look good. But to that same effect of what I just said, similarly with this month time frame, if somehow we did come here, I think it's also highly likely that we come here, we find resistance, then we break under, we try to do something here. And so it'd essentially be at this point. And so moving up from here, this is when I would be bearish on the market and bullish for the dollar index, because at that point we're messing with really long time frame averages pushing up. That depending on how long it takes to get there, I mean, this is just straight dropping for 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe like 5, 6 months, like another 2 months on top of what it's already done. So we'll see in that kind of respect. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say on the dollar. Long story short, it's kind of a rehashing of a little bit before, and then we can look at some of the things. So I don't think anything's really changed too much. We have been shot up quite a bit, so we'll see. And I guess the last thing I'd say is the determining spot. If I think it's going to try to push up at least to this 103.6, I'd still like to see a day start above 102.319. So I think that's another take profit spot based off of the dollar index. But there are some interesting things. As we can see, one thing here, real quick, we do see that there's some profit taking up here on the NASDAQ today. But we are technically in this range. We did start up here slightly above it, so we'll see what happens with that. Some of the more interesting ones are Apple on the day time frame. So we could see Apple recently. This was range 1, range 2, a very sketchy range, but we can see range 3, and now we've started above. So it's pushed up a lot. I'm not a big fan of this one, but there are some other ones that look really nice, similar to Apple. So I think Apple's in a little bit of a sketchy spot. This is old data, so these lines are supposed to be. I'll get rid of this one. Those two lines are supposed to be representation of last time I was looking at these, like here. So I just haven't really cared to look at Apple recently because so far the dollar index has just been seemingly dominating the movement of everything. So who really cares? So let's go to the first one's going to be Amazon. So we have Amazon right here, which looks really nice, or I don't really care right there. So we are overextended quite a bit. I would say this looks pretty decent for the range between 107 here and 99.54. We have started quite a bit higher than what I actually wanted to see. I didn't want to see it pump up this high, so that's something I'm not a big fan of. But currently, this 99.54 looks like a really nice spot to add on at. And this is just a representation of that. I don't believe there's any other averages. Yeah, so we have the day and we've pushed above, and there's the week time frame. I just don't like what it's done. On the day time frame, it's slightly started under. I don't necessarily care because it's a week time frame average, but I don't like on the week time frame the idea that we've pushed up. It's not a huge amount more, we'll see where it starts. I think the lower it starts, the better, but it did push up already 4% higher than this average. Now, with the dollar where it is, I think it's still fine, but that is kind of something to take into consideration. Um, I honestly don't remember the other ones. I'll go over some of the stuff I go over in the meantime. GME is another one where we don't see anything on the week time frame, nothing really crazy down here. But in regards to the dollar looking nice and the targets, we did hit our targets here, so it will be interesting to see if it can maintain. I do like this, even though it pushed up, it's a wick, so I like that it's not like part of the candle itself or the part of the candlestick itself. Um, so hopefully it just starts relatively right around here. This looks pretty good for what it is. And just looking from a day time frame perspective, it's another possible 25% increase all the way back up to 28.84 currently. That'll probably change tomorrow, so maybe 28.75 or 28, I don't know, probably 28 point, I don't know, probably 28.85 to be honest, but it's always good to take profit stuff slightly before our targets are. Um, so that's that one. The GME is another one I see with big potential, depending on where we start tomorrow. And like I said, depending on where we start, I'd like to see it starting above 22 point, maybe like 7.6 is where it is now. When the day opens, it's going to shift. So it just kind of is what it is. Robinhood, nothing too special. We started here, really great day start, and we got to take profit stops other that spot. Maybe if we can start above 1061, that would be kind of nice for this. It would be nice to see all the other ones looking good as well, though. So we'll kind of see. Meta's blown past. I don't know why this line is here, to be honest. Better representatives up here. I mean, I could see maybe for this, but it also wasn't on any specific line that I had, so I wasn't really not really sure. Maybe it was based off of like a 4 hour or something. I mean, I don't necessarily see a reason to like get out of meta. I mean, it's coming up from the data that I do have that's all the way up here. I think this looks like a really reasonable spot. I mean, even taking a little bit of profit in this whole area's we'll see what happens, but I have a feeling meta looks it could definitely push up. So we could look at it as resistance here, and we're not going to be able to get up through here. But when I look at this, I have a pretty good feeling of getting up to this area currently, like on the day, it would be 177 pretty much. I don't have a lot of faith of it actually pushing through 184 currently, or between 177 and 184. And I guess maybe we could even kind of see. Yeah, and this also puts like a huge increase here, but we can see a decent amount, a decent sizable amount here. But once we really get to this area right in between, it's pretty sketchy. So maybe we have a little bit of extension up here, and I would imagine it just gets wrecked down. I would wait. This is where I would treat the other ranges. Obviously, this is coming down, so it's at 257 right now. It'll probably be like I don't know 255 or something tomorrow or next week. My bad. And then that would be the range between 187 and 255. Um, Obviously, it's coming down pretty hard up here, so it depends how long it takes to get there. I don't think there's anything on Microsoft that looks decent. I don't know why that's there. Let me see. Oh, this was why. Microsoft, I'd still like to see Microsoft have a day start above 258. I mean, besides that, it might just get momentum from the rest of the market pushing up. I haven't been a huge fan of Microsoft recently. I think a lot of other ones have seemed a lot better. Like Microsoft just held up so well in and so many other things like dropped like a rock. So, just from that one perspective. Another one on the week time frame. I think our day is a while away. Yeah, we didn't have anything really nice on the day, so we'll see what happens here. But as long as other things look good, I would like. So we talked about this, I think, in the other video, but essentially, here's one range, here's two range, right? So we're talking about 200 to 219, and then we're talking about 219 to 250. That look pretty decent. Um, I'd like to see it start on the day time frame before these ranges or at the beginning of the ranges. My bad. So like here, and I'd like to see the other one start here, like we talked about with Amazon, and I don't remember the other one. GME, I think also as well. I'd like to see it start here so it has room to push up. If we start up here, that's annoying. If we start up here, then that'd be sketch. Same thing. I mean, I'd say this much at least. If it starts up and it pushes straight up, I think it's more likely to come back down to test. Doesn't mean it has to fall through, but that's just how I feel about it. We'll see. I think everything's still in relative to the VIX and mainly to the dollar index, so that does matter. PayPal kind of is what it is. I still think DraftKings look better. They look almost the same for what they are. I still think DraftKings look better. Uh, the day time frame, pretty much the same thing. We're looking at a range between 171 and 198 with a base that we never hit incredibly well, but still looked pretty nice, especially in the start of this day and with the dollar, blah, blah, blah. So essentially, we're just looking at this range. Same principles, what I said before. I'd like to see it start somewhere right in this area so it has a bigger range to move up in. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if stuff does. I would say, in some sense, I wouldn't be incredibly surprised if stuff does try to just push up more. But if we do kind of just keep pushing up more, uh, I am going to start thinking that we're headed for like not a crash, but a big sell off or something of that sort, essentially. So, we'll see what happens. It kind of is what it is. Dollar index is the name of the game. I still think we're heading down. 102.33 is the turning point on the day to try to push up to 103.6. I still think if it does that, then it gets pushed down again, and I arguably think that's also pretty bullish for the market. The for the bearish for the market, the dollar index just needs to go down. The quicker, the better. The longer it takes, I think the more bullish things will continue to be. Anyway, take care, y'all. I'll probably stream tomorrow. We'll see.